Why is AI narration for audiobooks a bad thing? Before I answer that, I want to tell you a little about my background just for context. I'm an author and I'm also a voiceover artist. I publish my own books as ebooks, paperbacks, hardcovers, and audiobooks, and I record the narration for my own audiobooks. I don't record audiobooks for other authors, though. I also have a degree in computer science from Georgia Tech, and my area of specialization in my studies was artificial intelligence. So this specific topic involves pretty much every aspect and side of my work, experience, and education. Because of my background, I'm usually more interested in learning about AI and exploring AI tools than most of my fellow authors are. A big part of that is figuring out the ethics and the usefulness of the various tools, along with figuring out how my personal morality lines up with the various tools' usages. I personally do not use AI for writing anything in any of my books, and I don't use AI for making any of my covers or other art. I'm not an AI witch hunter, but those are just decisions that I've made for my own personal work. And, pertinent to this question, I also would not use AI voices for narration. The first and most obvious reason for this is that there are so many talented human narrators out there who do an amazing job narrating books. I'd much prefer working with them than working with a robot. Now, one of the most common arguments against that is when people say that indie authors can't afford to pay a human narrator. The thing is, we can though, because many, and I'd venture to say even most narrators, are happy to work with authors on a revenue split model. That's something that's built into ACX, which is the most commonly used platform for auditioning narrators and producing audiobooks. Through revenue split, the author typically doesn't have to pay anything up front. Instead, the author makes an agreement with the narrator that the narrator will produce the audiobook and it'll be published. And then, for an agreed-upon amount of time, usually a certain number of years after the book is published, all revenue generated by the book will be split by the author and narrator. This is a very legit and accessible way of doing business if you want to get audiobooks made but you don't have the capital up front to pay a narrator in one lump sum. It also helps fund the talented narrators whose jobs are being threatened by this technology. Aside from the money and business side of things, most readers and authors that I know of just generally kind of think AI-narrated audiobooks aren't of that great of quality. The AI technology is advancing and it's getting better all the time, but there is still this uncanny valley kind of thing going on there. The current state of AI narration is that it can do a good job with nonfiction, but when it comes to fiction, a lot of times it kind of poops the bed. There are a lot of common problems in that area, but the one that I've heard the most is that AI typically can't really differentiate between internal monologues, internal thoughts, and external dialogue. There's just something kind of emotionally off in its tone when it's reading one or the other. And in general, it often just misses the mark entirely for conveying emotion. Human narrators have the experience of living, and they can understand and intuit the emotions that authors are trying to convey. AI bots, on the other hand, don't have that experience. They can be taught to detect certain words and infer tones from that and kind of guess at the emotion based on that, but it's not an instinctual thing like it is with humans. They'll always lag behind humans in that area, even just a little bit, and readers have said that hearing that is unsettling enough that it can just pull them right out of the book they're listening to. And a third thing to consider is that right now, public sentiment, especially in the bookish community, is very much against AI. I don't know how or whether that might change in the future, but right now, most people you see in the bookish space are very negative about all sorts of artificial intelligence. It's to the point that they will outright boycott and call out books that have used AI in their production, and they'll also essentially cancel authors that are known to have used AI. Now, that's not everyone, but it's a significant enough portion of the book community that it's worth taking into consideration. So the three big takeaways here are: 1. AI makes worse audiobooks than humans do. 2. You can use a revenue split model to help pay for the audiobook so you can work with a human narrator instead of AI. And 3. Using AI in any part of your book's production is very risky in today's climate. Hopefully that helps, and I, the guy whose entire college career was built around artificial intelligence, would encourage you not to use AI in producing your audiobooks.